Hello everybody, welcome back to the Center for Off-Road Research Shenanigans and Science. And it's been a while since you've seen the Olympus build. This is the FuryTech Olympus titanium chassis. It has a lot of good stuff on it. There's not one single part on this build that has a single bit of plastic on it other than the body panels I made that hold the battery. Also, since the last build, I have installed Injora links on there. They're for Gladiator, and they're high clearance links. And it did have deadbolt geometry. Now it has Gladiator geometry, and that is because I had Brian and Lance over about a month or so ago, and they just showed me how good crawler can be with the Gladiator geometry, and it's fantastic. It's actually more than it's a bigger scale than 124. I'd say this is probably a true 118. And the other thing I've done is I have some little guy racing product Swamp Kings that came in the mail today. And I have the exact same rims that Michael Kors has, the Trios. And I pulled those off for the test. We're going to drive it today with my wheels and the new Swamp Kings on there. And this is my first set of little guy racing products since the Trail Kings. I had Trail Kings and I absolutely hated them, but I found out the Swamp Kings are a superior tire. They're fantastic. So I'm running these without foams. They are not vented though, because I can't bring myself to poke a hole in them just to vent a tire. It doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, this thing is in a full competition spec right now. I'll get a weight on it. Oh, here we go. If I can get it to balance. And it doesn't even come in that heavy. It's 407.2 grams. So even though this is an all metal build, it's not super heavy. This is actually a lot lighter than you would think it would be. I've got rigs that are not all metal that weigh more than that. At least I got one of them that does. Maybe two. One more note for today's test. We're going to be using a stock battery, and because this is not my truck and it's for the kids raffle at the Iowa RC Outlaws Camp and Crawl, I have blue tape the entire pretty part of the suspension that has all that nice perfect paint still on it. So we're going to take care of that for this first rock trial here. I've determined this is about as steep as this truck is capable of climbing, and we'll just do a short climb on this to show you it can climb at 57 degrees, and that's really pretty good with a big tire car. And these are about as big as tires you can put on this thing. One thing that's nice about it is not tire limited. It doesn't even appear to be slipping at all on this traction, but it is carrying that left front, as you can see. And if I was to give it much more angle at all, it's going to go over on its back. I have done a partial redesign of the course just because there's only so many times you can do a line before it gets kind of repetitive. So in the interest of keeping things interesting, I have kind of changed up this part of it. These little guy Swamp King tires they're fantastic. It just climbs with not a whole lot of drama. Now I don't know whether it's the compound that's so good, or the size of it, or the tread blocks, but as you can see, this really has no problem at all on this course. That's about as easy as you can run up that line right there. We'll try the ridge run here. And this one is kind of difficult for the wider track vehicles, just because you're literally driving on a peak. And I don't know to shoot it a little bit, I think, just to get it over this. I'd like to take it slow and find out if it won't just crawl it. And it will. How about that? It's a nice thing about these Fury Tech motors is they are so smooth. And this is where a wide axle is not so great, because it literally high sides itself on the peak. Kind of hang it by the inner sidewalls. Ooh. We'll try it again. This is a very difficult crawl again for the wide axle trucks. Narrow ones give it better diff clearance. There's a video I did earlier that talked about crawler theory, and I talk about why wider is not always better, but in most cases, in a lot of cases it is. Just if you're going over peaks, you can sort of diff it out, and it's not something the truck likes very much. See if you can't slide it forward on that. I'll kind of zoom in for you here and show you what I mean is the problem right now. But these tires are so far apart that as it goes over the peak, it just hits the diff and picks both tires up. Also, it's sitting on the skid plate. The front tires, I think, may also be touching on the diff. So yeah, I've got a tire in the air over there, got one on the diff, I've got one here that doesn't have enough grip on the ground to pull itself forward. This is probably the oldest line on my course that still exists, and it is the step climb up the stairs. And I just really like this climb up. Gives the truck a good chance to really kind of get flexing, and it's just a good test for it. And with these big tires in the back and front, it has plenty of frame clearance over that obstacle there. And this is another foam, that pink insulation part that I installed just to make a transition area. I used to have another thing that was just there. It wasn't terribly cool or interesting, and I wanted something that at least looked cool, so I changed the course there to be interesting. Now I'm going to drive it over the bridge over there. And then I'll show you the way this thing descends. It is really good. I think it's one of the best parts of the rig, actually. As far as balance goes, it's fantastic. Let me get over there and I'll continue this. This Olympus chassis with a Gladiator links on it, and this motor can descend at an unbelievably steep angle, and this motor just allows you to just creep it down. It's very, very good. I don't want to do it too slow and bore you, but I also don't want to just send it down and have the thing flip after talking up the descent angle. But it is just controlled and nice, and I don't see any point in venting these tires, because for me they kind of smushed just enough. And I don't know that I'd want them to crush more. It would be like driving on flats when they're already just about as good as they can get. You know, a lot of the full-size guys, when they run rocks and sand and all that, they'll air down some of them just even down to 4 pounds, which to me is like driving on flat tires, but it works. So I get it, but we're not facing tire wear issues on rocks here. So I think that's one of the reasons to air down. Another one is just you get that good conformation to the ground with the tread, and this thing is just fantastic. I don't know if I can take it back up the same line, but we'll try it. One thing about this motor combo here is it's geared a little bit lower than stock, it appears. I mean, it's got a pretty low ratio, and came pretty close to flipping it there, didn't I? I'll still flip it, don't worry. Should have turned the lights on the course tonight. Didn't do that. There we go. Kind of zoom in on that for you. We'll watch those tires work. I have forward mounted the engine for a couple reasons. It allows me to package the electronics very well. It gives it a forward weight bias, and you can see it, because if that thing was hidden under the bodywork, it would be kind of a shame, because that's a cool part of the truck. I may put a red line on it just because you need to see that red go around when it's spinning. It can be pulled off by the owner, but I've got a red line on my surpass that I added just to show the fact that it's turning slowly. But that was an easy climb for this truck. We'll try the Lance line here. He's the one that opened it up, at least this particular version of it. And my other truck, I can just crawl it. I built a wide track rig after he came in here and did that, because I didn't have anything that could do it. But I have a wide track rig that can just crawl right up this now. I kind of think that this would be a better truck if it had a little bit less weight on the rear axle. It's already got metal on the rear, and see how it's just pulling itself off the rock, because when that right rear dropped, it's just pulling the whole truck upside down. This is why I don't weight the back of my trucks. And if you have a light rear axle, I'll show you how it can do that. Right now it's completely vertical, and if I just touch the gas at all, it's just gone. Nothing you can do about it. I'll show you the rig I've built. This is my wide track rig, and it's that Next Racing, formerly cantilever shocked carbon fiber chassis. I've reconverted it back to standard shocks because it just doesn't perform well with cantilevers, and this is an altogether better situation. I've gone the cheaper route and put in a PN90 with a couple of heatsink glue to it, PN Racing stuff, and I've got a little bit different setup. RC four-wheel drive comp wheels and brass links from a Gladiator. So they're literally the same length. They're essentially the same width, maybe a few millimeters different. But I'll show you the difference in having more of a lighter rear axle. Now this truck has scramblers on it, so they're a little bit smaller tire, and that's going to give it a little bit better center of gravity too, not by much, but a little bit. But I'll show you the difference when you have a light rear axle. I can just hang the truck on the side of the rock like that and just pull it right through. If I can get it to get off the body. But that's why I like a light rear axle. The trail wheel that you saw in the video so far has a brass ring like that. And what I've done in the truck over there on the wall is I've taken one of the Endura rims, and I'll try to, I don't know if I can zoom in and make that focus. But this is one of the Endura wheels, and it has a plastic ring on it. And initially I thought, no, these were from, I think these were from pit bulls actually. These are from pit bulls. I apologize for that. But they have a plastic ring that's the same width as this brass one, and I have replaced the brass in that truck over there with plastic just to get rid of that weight at the wheel. And this is just a reason why I don't like to have a heavy rear axle. Also, if you have a heavy rear axle and you're doing a climb and only the front axle is really pulling, that's like doing a pull-up wearing ankle weights. It's not beneficial. The only reason that I add weight to the tail is to keep it from front flipping if it's going down an angle that's just too steep for it, and I cannot make a descent, then I do have to add more rear weight just to keep it planted. But that's the only thing I would change so far on this entire truck is plastic center beadlock rings. That's it. I love this truck. It is fancy. It's got every part on it you could imagine that is an upgrade. It never had anything but upgrade parts on it, and whoever wins this is getting a fantastic rig. I'm thinking about dragging my son, who has no interest in RC at all, to come to the event just so that he can have a chance to win this. I don't know how willing he'll be to do that, but I would love to get this thing back in my family. This is a really nice rig. This will actually climb better, and I think would have an even better chance at going over that rock I just showed you with the tires that that Mike bought for it. They're a little bit smaller, and it'll lower the center of gravity, which would do a better job out at Red Rock actually, because out there it's a steep game, so center of gravity is king out there, and it'll give up a little bit of diff clearance, but I think out there it's going to get it all back. I do like these tires. I don't know if I like them more than scramblers. I'll have to play around with them a little bit just to find out, but I'm going to modify another rig that I have and put Gladiator links on it too. It's the V4 with portals, and I think I'm going to put this on it and make it a wide track rig as well, and not use the positive offset rims to tuck them back in. I'm going to leave it wide once I stretch it out, but trucks like this kind of make me change my mind on what a crawler should be. And I can thank my friends Brian and Lance for coming over and showing me these wide track rigs with the little guy Swamp King tires. They're good tires. They didn't slip even at a 57-degree climb. I don't know what their traction limit is. Maybe I'll tie this nose down and I can get a few more degrees out of it, but I don't think they're going to slip anyway. But this is a beautiful rig. I'm going to pull the tape off of it and finish the video that way. Just give it a chance to look at it one more time. Look how nice this thing is. And just another note on mounting the skid plate with the Olympus chassis: you only use the front and back. You don't use the center two screw mounts. This thing is so well packaged and just beautifully put together. I ran this wire around that bar in there to keep it off the motor. That's why it looks like that, but that's not bad. All metal. Well, all metal, carbon fiber. The only thing plastic is this piece that I built in there for the battery. Well, that's all for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the video on this, and it's ready for somebody to win it at the Iowa RC Outlaws Camp and Crawl this April. We'll talk to you later.